Hey guys, welcome to lecture series on ethical hacking. So in this video, we'll be mainly talking about the different type of attacks that has been caused because of the application layer level hijacking and moreover transport layer level hijacking. So mostly because of these particular hijacking, session hijacking exactly, okay, we will be coming across the man in the middle attack, man in the browser attack, client side attacks, different type of attacks. Up to now, you may be familiar about the man in the middle attack, what we have discussed in the case of what we have learned in the network security cryptography in the previous semesters. But the new thing we'll be discussing about the man in the browser attack. It's a small different thing, but which works similar to that of the man in the middle attack itself. So first of all, we will be going with the what exactly the man in the middle attack is of. In the previous lecture videos also we had discussed about these are the main attacks. That is nothing but the man in the middle attack is mainly caused because of the session hijacking. A small repetition regarding the session hijacking. So once we want to make any sort of data transmission between the sender and moreover receiver, first of all, we have to establish a required connection, whether you are using the connection oriented or connectionless. And before to that, we have to establish a required session. Session is nothing but the time duration, okay, which we are very much familiar. So this particular session, which has been established between the source and moreover the destination, will be hijacked by the third party. Okay, that is nothing but the attacker or else intruder, and he will be hijacking the total session. Okay, a session token ID will be hijacked. Okay, and or else they will be hijacking the what I have to say virtual circuit. That is nothing but in the case of transport level layer level hijacking. So once a virtual circuit that has been established for the data transmission in the case of TCP has been hijacked by the third party, so this intruder will be behaving as an intermediate person. Okay, so he will be capturing, he will be analyzing the total data transmission that has been done between the source and moreover destination. What the data that has been transmitted from the source will be listened first of all by the attacker as per his own constraint. He can modify, he can update, can delete, or else he can make any sort of things. And the updated data will be transmitted to the receiver. The source will be thinking the data has been properly received to the receiver, and receiver will be thinking the data is coming from the trusted source itself. But here, the third party or else the intruder or else attacker will be acting as a man in the middle attack. Okay, there comes to the man in the middle attack. He will be acting as a receiver for the source and moreover as a source for the receiver. So in the middle, in the these intermediate persons will be doing the attacks in such a manner that they can make any sort of modification for the data that has been transmitted. So unknowingly, the source and moreover receiver will be thinking the data has been via the trusted channels, and the data communication that has been done is of highly secured, and there is no such sort of attacks. But here, there is a chance of having the man in the middle attack and man in the browser attacks and moreover client side attacks. Once these session hijacking and moreover application layer level hijacking and transport layer level hijacking has been happened. First of all, going with the man in the middle attacks, first of all, these intruder will be intercepting the required communication. So as I said, the communication path will be established, virtual circuit will be established for the data transmission. It will be hijacked. Okay, the attackers secretly position themselves in between the source and moreover destination. Okay, and he will be intercepting the total data that has been communicated between the source and moreover the receiver. So all the data that has been transmitted from the source or else from the receiver, like login credentials or else any sort of sensitive information, any sort of data communication, even for the regarding to the financial information also, and that thing will be captured and it will be read by the attacker, and he can misuse that particular information. He can misuse the sensitive information regarding the financial transactions information or also login credentials information, messages, everything. And not only these things, not only constrained to the passive attacks, not only listening to the data that has been transmitted, there is a chance of data manipulation also by these attackers. Okay, the data that has been coming from the source will be modified, or else he will be injecting a new data, and there is a chance he can alter the messages also that has been forwarding between both the communication parties. And for these things, they will be mainly going for an approach called as a ARP snooping. Okay, in the last video also we had discussed about the ARP snooping, especially in the transport layer level hijacking. So ARP is nothing but the address resolution protocol, which will be mainly used in order to convert the convert the MAC IP address into the MAC address. As a communication party, I will be least bothered about the MAC addresses. IP address will be known to me, will be available with me. Okay, if I am doesn't know about the concerned MAC address exactly in the network, so what I will be doing, I will be relying on the ARP tables. The ARP will be maintaining some sort of repository concerned to the IP addresses and moreover their own mapped MAC addresses. So if these intruders or also attackers is modifying the ARP table, so automatically a normal layman like me will not be thinking whether it is a modified or also genuine data. I will be thinking it is a genuine information itself. So the concerned IP address and more the MAC address, the data will be transmitted. But here the IP snooping has been happened, ARP snooping has been happened, and the attacker has updated the routing table and moreover the repository of the MAC and moreover the IP address combinations, and this MAC address is concerned to the attacker. So annoyingly, the data will be simply transmitted to the attacker first of all. So this is how the man-in-the-middle attack may be occurred, and this intruder will be behaving as an sender for the legitimate receiver. So the ARP snooping can be happened in the case of DNS snooping also. Domain name systems, okay, the domain name systems, they will be mainly used in order to convert the IP address, domain name address into the IP address. There is a chance similar to that of the mapping of the IP with the MAC. Here the mapping of domain name address to the IP address will be there with repositories, routing tables and everything. There is a chance that attacker can modify those things also. Similarly, going with the SSL stripping, secure socket layers, okay, the stripping can be happen what we have discussed in the third unit also. So if I am using the untrusted rogue Wi-Fi hotspots also, the attackers can attack into my system. So that's why only we should be in a capable position to educate ourselves and moreover to our friends, to our relatives, to our close friends, not to avail the public Wi-Fi, especially in the public environment. So there is a maximum chance of having attacks once we are going to use these public internet services. Okay, and last concern to the serious security impact. So because of these things, what is the impact? Okay, so there is no boundaries for the impact. The intruder can do any sort of operations what he's like. Okay, he can compromise the financial information, data can be left, can be theft. Okay, so identities may be compromised. Any sort of operation can be done by using these man-in-the-middle attacks. In condition to that thing, next we'll be discussing about the man-in-the-browser attack. So here the attack will be occurred at the browser level. Okay, so we'll be using different type of browsers like Opera or else Mozilla. Even we are very much tend to use the Edge or else Chrome and different Safari. Different type of browsers has been available with us. You can observe whenever we are accessing some sort of unauthorized websites or also untrusted websites. Okay, it will be asking, we'll be getting some sort of pop-ups whether to block these data or not. Okay, we'll be getting different type of pop-ups. Once these particular pop-ups has been enabled or else has been clicked, automatically it will be attacking your browser. Okay, so without your intervention also, once we are sitting in some sort of labs or other things, you can observe once we are opening any sort of browser and doing your some sort of operations, you will be seeing some sort of ads will be appeared at the right side. Okay, so these things will be getting into your browser from these type of attacks. Okay, the attacker or else the third party will be capturing our browser's interest. Okay, browser's capability, browser's functionalities, and they can do their own operations. The attackers mainly they will be involving with the malicious softwares that can be injected into our user's web browser. Okay, as I said right now, we'll be getting some sort of ads unnecessarily. Okay, even though we haven't downloaded any sort of thing, but the previous user who has been using the browser unknowingly or knowingly, he may click on some sort of uneven things and allowing some sort of pop-ups or else a blocked website. Automatically, some sort of infection can be happen on our browsers. Okay, this is mainly done because of through the extensions are downloading the irrelevant data or else downloading any sort of software as well as applications or even movies and other things from the untrusted parties or else untrusted servers. So these browsers mainly intercepting the total communication that has been happening between the source and mode or destination, similar to that of the TCP or also man in the middle attack, what we have done discussed in the previous slide, where the total data communication will be happening via the packets. These particular packet information will be captured by the intruders. But here at the browser level, okay, what the credentials what we have been given will be temporarily stored in my cookies. That particular cookies can be hijacked, or else what the information that has been given from us, or the instructions, or also login credentials, any sort of websites that I am opening. So it will be capturing the entire data that has been transmitted from the source via these particular browsers, and there is a chance they will be modifying, or else they will be manipulating these particular things before the encryption can be taken place. So at the application layer level, we will be doing the user interaction. So at the application layer level, the user will be interacting with the network or also with the system. So the browsers will be allowing us to give some sort of instructions or opening or also type some sort of data. The data that has been entered will be next going into the presentation layer. There the encryption will be carried out. But before the data is entering into the network layer, to the presentation layer, okay, the data will be simply manipulated. Okay, so generally we will be doing the encryption or also decryptions, maintenance, anonymity, everything will be carried out at the presentation layer level. Okay, so before the data is coming from application layer to the presentation layer itself, as we are communicating at the application layer level via the browsers, the browser will be attacked and browser will be collecting the entire information, and they can be misused. Once the data has been encrypted, it will be taking some amount of time for the attacker to attack that particular data. Before these things can be happen, the attacker will be mainly focusing at the application layer level itself. Without any sort of complexity, he can get the total information. Okay, it also allows the attacker to have to make the real-time transaction manipulation. Okay, the user will be simply making some sort of message saying that please transfer some sort of $1 million to my Swiss bank account, some 622. Suppose the intruder is having his own account in the same Swiss bank, instead of going with the 622, he will be simply making modification as a 522. Okay, at the browser level itself, the attacker will be attacking the total data that has to be transmitted. Okay, it is very much difficult than compared to that of the man in the middle attack to detect. Okay, the attacker is operating at the browser level, as it will be bypassing the HTTPS and more of the other traditional security protocols or also tools what we are using. Okay, na? So it is very much hard to detect these type of attacks. So that's why we should be very much aware once we are downloading any sort of things, once we are allowing any sort of pop-ups, please be cautious. And the main impact will be of similar to that of the man in the middle attack. There is a chance of having the loss of sensitive information, financial information, any sort of data can be lost. Okay, so next to the man in the middle attack and more on man in the browser attack, next we'll be discussing about the client side attacks. So here the attack will be done by the attacker or also intruder at the client level. Okay, client will be regularly communicating with the server whenever he is in need of some sort of query processing or else in order to access some sort of data. So the user will be affected on his terminal where he is working with. Okay, the attacker will be mainly targeting the user's device. The device may be a laptop, it may be the mobile environment, it may be a desktop, any sort of thing. So they will be using different type of functionalities or else softwares, okay, now to attack these things. So you can see, so the attack focus on the client system, especially the what are the browsers what they are using, even what are the applications they are using, even the operating system also. Okay, we do have the app eavesdropping can be happen, operating system level eavesdropping can be happened. Okay, so they will be capturing the total data from these things, and there is a chance of having the exploitation in the software vulnerabilities also. These attackers will be taking advantage over the browser's flaws that has been available, and even plugins also. So to make the users work in a much more convenient manner, the browser will be allowed with the different type of plugins. Suppose if I want to download some sort of video from the YouTube. Okay, so once I am going with the Chrome or else a Mozilla, we'll be having different type of plugins like YouTube downloader. So in a normal, without these plugins, if I'm opening any sort of browser and if I'm having the view of the YouTube videos, we don't have the download option. But once these plugins has been installed, we'll be getting the download option. So there is a chance these particular plugins what we are installing may not be a trustworthy. But most of the plugins will be tending to you to download from the authorized Mozilla or else a Chrome browser itself. But in some sort of situations, we'll be downloading some sort of plugins from the other third parties also. So we should be very much cautious. So common how these particular attacks will be occurred is nothing but the simple thing is nothing but the phishing mails. We'll be getting different type of phishing messages, also phishing mails. And these particular phishing mails and moreover messages will be in such a manner that it may look like a genuine message what we are getting. Suppose we are getting one particular message saying that suppose if you have if you have done some sort of financial transaction in your bank account, if you have withdraw, if you have paid some sort of EMI for the bank loan, or else if you have deposit some sort of message, you will be getting some sort of message immediately for your WhatsApp or else to the mobile environment, if normal SMS. In that thing, to have a further more information about the transaction, please click on the following link for a post, for example. If it is that particular following link has been triggered, has been activated, has been open, automatically it may affect the system also in your mobile environment also. So the message that has been transmitted by the attacker will look more genuine as possible. So we should be very much cautious. And we have to go with these XSS, that is nothing but a cross-site scripting has to be implemented. Always we have to avoid the malicious downloads, and we should not allow the drive-by downloads also, so that they will be allowing us to have much more security. Okay, always download any sort of information from the authorized websites or also trusted websites. Okay, user interaction offers required for these particular attackers to make their own attack. So what they will be doing, they will be mainly relying on the users clicking links. Just now I had said one particular information about the SMS what we are getting, which looks like as a genuine information, where it will be giving us a link to click on this link to have a further more information. If I am doing any sort of operations on these unwanted or else untrusted links, so automatically this may attack our system. In the case of ransomware attacks also, so the attacker will be mainly sending some sort of phishing mails, and the normal legitimate user like me will be thinking that the message and moral mail is of trusted only. If I'm clicking those particular links, it may malfunction our system. Okay, so because of these things, okay, as similar to that of the man in the middle attack and more of the man in the middle browser attacks, we will be losing our own security for the data what I am maintaining. Here the credentials may be stolen by the persons, sessions may be hijacked, and they will be installing some sort of unwanted malwares into our system, so they can gain the unauthorized access also. So these are the different type of problems that will be occurred once we have been indulged with the client-side attacks. Next, going with the session hijacking tools. So what are the different type of tools that will be available, that has been already available in the real world market, okay, to have some sort of attacks, which will be regularly used by the attackers. Suppose if I want to go with the automate session hijacking, so these things where they will be mainly capturing the these particular tools, we will be mainly capturing and more analyzing and more reuse those particular session data for the future communication. And suppose, for example, from 10:20 to 10:30, some sort of session has been established and the data communication has been happened with some sort of session token IDs. So those same information can be used by the attacker for the future communication, for the further communication also. Even though sender is not interested to, trusted sender is not interested to make any sort of further communication, there is a chance these type of attacks may be occurred because of these particular tools. And next we do have the capture session information. Okay, for these things we do have the Ettercap, Wireshark. In everywhere we are talking about the Ettercap and Moro Wireshark. Dear guys, just install these versions of applications and just go through these applications for the different type of functionality that has been available. Why? Because everywhere we are mainly talking about the Ethercap and Moro Wireshark. Mostly in computer networks lab, apart with the programming with the C or else Python, we do have the implementation of some sort of programs via using Wireshark. Okay, you may those particular things has been available in your syllabus or not. Okay, least bother. Okay, just to go to this, download these applications. Work out with some sort of trial versions, and we can analyze what are the different type of functionalities that has been available. And we do have some sort of techniques to support the man-in-the-middle attacks. Okay, like ARP poisoning and more intercepting the communication between the trusted parties. And moreover, they will be having a chance of having a session relays, and moreover, cookie hijacking can be happened. Okay, session relays may be happen. The attackers may be reusing the same stolen token of the sessions, or else what the credential that has been given by the user will be temporarily stored in the cookies. Those particular information can be misused. Okay, because of these things, everywhere we will be having the loss of data and loss of the privacy and security for the data that I am maintaining. Okay, so these are the different type of attacks that will be occurred, and how we are going to analyze those things by using these tools. Next, we'll be going with the preventing the session hijacking. How we are going to prevent? What are the different type of countermeasures that has to be implemented? First thing, always go with the trusted channels by using different type of trusted protocols with high security. Instead of going with the HTTP, we will be going with the HTTPS. That's why only what most of the browsers, when we are clicking on any unauthorized websites or else untrusted links, it will be giving some sort of pop-ups, whether to proceed further, whether to allow those particular pop-ups or not, and it will be alerting also. If I'm allowing those things, it may malfunction, it may lead to some sort of security issues and all these things. So the user will be getting some sort of pop-ups once we are getting using of the HTTPS protocol. And always go with the strong session management. Okay, as I said, in the case of TCP session hijacking, and moreover the ARP poisoning, and moreover in the case of application layer levels hijacking and session level hijacking also, always don't go with the sequential order of the token numbers. These particular token numbers or the session IDs has to be generated randomly, so that those cannot be identified by the attackers. Okay, always clearly go with the session timeouts and moral logout mechanisms. Once the total communication has been happened between the trusted parties, once the session has been expired, immediately close that particular plots or else log out from that particular application, so that it will not be giving the permissions for the attacker to use those particular ports or else those particular virtual circuit to make the required further communication. Always go with some multi-factor authentication. Once we are making some sort of communication between two parties, always go with the third party authentication. Okay, so we do have different type of third party auditors or also third party authentication processes has been available, but are relying on those things. You might have a small question, sir, if these particular third parties has been compromised, how we are going to maintain our own data in a secure manner? So at that particular case, we can't provide the required security. Better go with the different type of encryption decryption mechanism, so that the keys will be trustedly available at the servers and more receiver, so that they can make the required communication after decryption and everything. Okay, always monitor and moreover detect the suspicious activities that has been happening in our system, at the system level, at the network level, and more at the session level, and even at the browser level also. Regularly make some sort of audit operations. Whenever if any fishy thing has been happened, whenever if any uneven situation has been arised, so automatically have an observe on that things, check, analyze, and try to avoid those things in the near future. Okay, so that's all about the total session. We'll be in this video we'll be mainly discussing about the different type of attacks related to the session, and moreover the transport level layer level hijacking related to the man in the middle attacks, client side attacks, and more of the man in the browser attacks. Thank you.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.